It might help if I turn the mic on. Well, I'm at home, and I'm using this mic. Mary's mic. Yes. Yeah, and you can see this. My house doesn't look like this. I'm clearly against green screen, right? You know that. So I don't have owls sitting in my living room. Anyway, welcome to Breaking the Silence pre-premiere show, and this pre-premiere show is about the show we're going to have in about the next 45 to 50 minutes, which is called Behind the Scenes. And the reason we're having Behind the Scenes, and I brought this up last night, and but there are a lot of you here that weren't here for the community chat, and we are spending a lot more time. I'm spending a lot more time with each show we do. They're now up to 40 minutes to an hour long. We let the experiencer go into a great deal more detail about their experience, which means it puts an extra heavy load on me because I want to recreate as best I can what they experienced. And if they said they were driving down a road at night and it was getting darker and darker, and then suddenly it became gravel, and then they saw a white owl flying next to their car, I have to show that. And it sounds easy enough, but it's not. And since you can't, go on location, get a convertible car, I'm talking about this. This is the shot I'm working on now. You can't go on location. You can't find a convertible Mustang, and you can't find a trained owl to fly alongside of the car. There's only one way to get it, and that's not AI. AI is terrible. It can't do that at all. But I can using CGI, and it takes time. So, you have to create models, and the road that you'll see is not, it looks very real, but it's not. It's a road, way and forest that I created going through the forest at night with beautiful stars overhead and everything. And it takes a lot of time. So, and then she has so many different things happening in her story that I have to show, and I had to create special, a tall white that she saw, praying mantis beings that she saw, a hybrid baby. This one's really jam-packed. This is going to be a real showstopper. So this can take anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks to a little longer to make the show, but you're going to get a really good show. So we're going to have less frequent shows, not the live streams, but the actual films, the cinematic films, the series, Breaking the Silence, which is what we started with. You're going to get fewer of those, but better shows and better quality shows. So that's what we're going for. In the meantime, we're going to have this show you're going to watch tonight, where I talk about and show you behind the scenes what I'm working on, what it takes to do these things, but I also talk about what experiences I've had more recently, as well as some commentary. Commentary, yes. There's a lot of stuff going on right now trying to put down the experiencer community. There really is. There are people inside of our groups and outside of our groups trying to discredit us, trying to shun us, trying to take away the attention from us, especially the nuts and bolts people. But then there's somebody else too trying to do that. And then there's all the ghosting, gaslighting and distraction going on with the political arena, and they're trying to terrify people. And don't fall for it. Don't fall for that distraction. The world's going to be fine. And the people that think they're going to take it over and tell us what to do, they're not going to succeed. Trust me. I have this right from my source, right? The visitors themselves who say, this whole political stuff is meaningless, and, it's going to be taken care of. So let's hope they're right. They don't like us talking to each other. No, they don't. And we've noticed this as the viewership has gone down. I'm happy to say, though, that we've been picked up by KRCA, I think it is. They're a radio network, live stream and streaming on the internet, quite a big network. They picked us up, and we're going to be in syndication. And they're not going to ask us or tell us what to do. They want to accept our show just the way it is, and it'll reach a lot more people this way. And yeah, I thought George Knapp's Netflix show led nicely into treating experiencers. It did, and there is among people like George Knapp and Gary Nolan. Bless Gary Nolan. There's some really good people out there that know how important the visitor experience is, and it's not all about the nuts and bolts. But right now, it's been kind of tough being taken seriously. But because of George Knapp and because of Gary Nolan and many others that I'm failing to mention right now, it's getting better, I hope. I'm kind of drawing a blank here. I've been so much with my head in the show, Judy's show, which is just amazing. But then after that, I've got it's Susan Alloway. It's Alloway. Is that correct, Mary?
Alloway, yes.
Yeah. A remarkable woman, and her story is incredible. And that's the one with the jackrabbits that were in the road blocking her car. I missed that one, Mary. You just put up. Oh, the Age of Secrets. Well, it's a funny thing about that. I've been studying the relationship between near-death experiences and the visitors so closely, so intensely lately, that the one thing that I found out is that, and this was explained by several people, is that when you're out of your body, you tend to have more consciousness, and you're able to connect with universal knowledge, which is shared by all the conscious beings throughout time and space in the universe. The people that are trying to take over the world with their money and power and their technology and their media and everything else aren't connected to this at all. And they're missing the whole point. So you and I know if we can reconnect, which a lot of us are starting to do as we come together, then we'll have access to that knowledge and there won't be any secrets anymore. At least here's hoping. But if you haven't studied near-death experiences, or even, I've also been watching old tapes of clairvoyance back from the 50s and 60s, where they channeled people who had passed on. For instance, one of the stories was about a gentleman who was on the HMS Hood. Some of you will know what that is. It was a British battleship in World War II, and it ran into the Bismarck, and the Bismarck took it out with one shot, blew it in half because it hit the magazine, and it sank very quickly, and very few people survived. And this woman channeled this man who was there, was on there, on the ship, and when it was hit, and he drowned. And then he goes into detail about where he ends up after that and how confused he was, because he could look down and see himself, and he, where he was seemed like Earth, but it wasn't Earth. And it was just fascinating. And then you hear the near-death experiences and you hear the same things told over and over again. Life review, places like Earth, green and lush. But they all noticed that they kind of knew all there was to know at that point. They connected with all the information that's shared in the collective of consciousness. So We don't have to be dead to do that. We've been cut off from it. Some of it's self-imposed. Some of it's been done deliberately just by how we were raised and taught. So maybe that'll end this age of secrecy. I don't feel personally that there's any real secrets. I mean, we know there's visitors here, right? I think we can all agree on that. So weird not hearing my voice. We know that there are craft in the sky. We know that there's more than one race or type of non-human intelligence visiting here. We know they're not all extraterrestrial. We know that they also come from other dimensions, parallel realities. We know all of this. We don't need any government to tell us that this stuff is real. We know it for ourselves. And by talking about it and sharing it as much as we can with the rest of the world, I think people are more and more coming over to our side, bit by bit. It's very slow, but I'm seeing it. Do you believe there's what is that, Mary? Word? Akashic record that we'll have access to after death. I don't have access to Google right now to see what the definition of that is. I don't know if we'll have a record. I know that many people, and this happened to me when I thought I was dying. I was riding down the rapids on an inner tube. We did that in the American River. It was crazy stuff we did when we were kids. But I got caught in a really bad part of it, and I got sucked down and pinned in a whirlpool vortex, pinned to the bottom of the river. And I remember looking up, and I couldn't breathe, and I knew I was going to die, and I just saw my entire life pass before me. I just saw it like a life review. I saw everything that ever happened up to that point. It was incredible. And then the next thing I knew, I was on the surface of the water, and my friends were looking for me. And I don't know how the heck I got back up there again. It isn't the first time something near death like that has happened to me. But we definitely seem to be connected on not only to our records, but all other records as well. So somewhere in there, if we could just learn how to do it. I think Whitley recently had a podcast, his show Dreamland, where he was talking to a gentleman that wrote a book about how to reconnect with our powers that we have lost, how to turn them on again. And that certainly would be the greatest one we could have, because geez, we could get up tomorrow morning and go off the grid by creating a free energy device, could levitate, make our own saucers. I mean, who knows? I mean, but it's all there. It's all been done. There's all kinds of consciousness out there that it's already reached that point, knows the secrets. And I suspect that it's actually much more, it's simple, not complicated. Nature does tend to be simple, the path of least resistance. Did I miss a question, Mary?
Let me see. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, you've heard people talk about it. There's a web that connects everything together, and all consciousness is attached to it, and it's like this web, like this internet that we have, essentially, but without the firewalls and the codes and the passwords and all that stuff. So, do you think the creatures that people have reported seeing while on DMT into the visitors? Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. When people are near death, and even the ones that went all the way over, have described tall, humanoid beings that are glowing with energy and light beings, but they've also seen the visitors as well, and other types of beings, and all kinds of humans. And so, yeah, I do think they're related. I mean, the bottom line is for me anyway, I mean, is that we're all spirit. So in a way, we're all the same. That's why the visitors said to me, and you'll hear it from Judy in her testimony and her show, which I should have done in the next 3 weeks. I am them. But the other part that goes with it, and they are me. And when I heard it, it was, well, I am you and you are me. That's when I asked the visitors, what could they tell me I couldn't possibly know, so that I know that it's not just my own mind talking to myself. And they said, well, we can't do that because you already know everything. I am you and you are me. It's actually not confusing. It makes perfect sense if you really think that, if you really know that consciousness is all the same. It just depends what package it's in. Do you think there are people in the sense that individuality, are they good and bad? Well, boy, that's good and bad, good and evil. Yeah, there are probably races of beings out there that are not really good, don't have good intentions, but that's how we perceive it. To them, from their point of view, what they're doing is completely natural in nature. I mean, if you take Star Trek and you think of things like the Borg, they didn't think that they were evil. They didn't think that they were bad. They were doing what they do, and we got in the way. It's a hard one. But, if you look at the universe, it's yin and yang. There's good and there's bad. There's dark and there's light, and it just works that way. And if you were to completely eliminate one side and only have the other, then it wouldn't work. It's crazy, but that's how it seems to be built. Steve, do you think that at the core, the whole phenomenon is an ancient Earth-based thing, or is it more likely comes from the stars? I don't think it's Earth-based at all. I always say to myself, it all started with the monolith. And, that goes back to 2001 and how that affected me. And I think that advanced intelligence has been going around seeding worlds, as well as comets have been seeding worlds with the DNA strain. And depending on the planet, it's able to produce life. And I think that there's been more advanced beings there to coax it along. So it kind of all start with the monolith. Steve, have you ever encountered the Men in Black? I guess I have, really, because if you call it that, I mean, I was hounded by helicopters. That was for sure. I had people hiding in my bushes at night looking in my windows. I know this because people came over to see me for the studios late at night because I'm doing work for them. And if you know anything about the movie business, we work around the clock pretty much. And there was somebody in the bushes, and my friend saw him, and he jumped out and he ran to this black car and got in it and tore off. We don't have the bell. You can get the bell. Steve, have you ever heard of an encounter with a tall white? Naria, thank you very, very, very much. Sorry. Bell from the meditation room. Yes, we have a meditation room in our house, and we do it every morning. At least we try to. Tall whites. No, at least not that I know of. I mean, I have seen the very tall grays that are light skinned. And what did I miss, Mary?
Earl here.
Oh, Earl. Hi, Earl. Anyway, I lost my track. You're asking me a lot of questions tonight. You don't usually do that. So I start to talk about something and then
I like it.
I get pulled off the rails. So that's fine. I'm a little punchy. I'm a little tired. It's been Judy's production has really been something. It's really been involved and just super detailed. And I know you're going to like it, especially the end. She really brings down the house. And I remember when Earl and I were shooting, because Earl comes and helps us when we shoot. Thank you, Earl. Thank you so much. And thank you for Susan Alloway too, Earl. We couldn't do anything without Earl. He's amazing. When we were shooting and she was concluding her story, I mean, we were both wiping our eyes. It was just so moving, let alone it's on camera, it's widescreen, there's dramatic music. And it's going to be something. I really think you're going to enjoy it a great deal. And of course, Susan's case with the jackrabbits in the road, they're 3.5 feet tall, and all the things that happened to her, and her testimony about her proof, basically. I mean, the evidence that she has that they've actually had been doing surgeries on her body are incredible, and you'll see that too. Thank you. And how do I pronounce his name, his or her name?
Hisong.
Hisong? Hisong. Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you. See, now what was I saying? Maybe they remember. These that you see behind me here, these are actual CGI models I created for the shows we're doing. And you know, this is the whole background was done a combination of Blender and Unreal Engine, which is, if I didn't have Unreal, I'd never be able to do this stuff. It's just amazing. I mean, even the shelves and the books, the posters on the wall, the room, everything is wireframe mesh. None of it's AI. So what interesting. I had a hunch. Oh, okay. So yeah. Oh, look, it's Sev. Hi, Sev. Thanks for being here. And you're going to be sending us some more videos soon too, I know. And that's going to be really something. It'd be great if you're out here, we could get you in front of camera. So back to Susan Alloway, that case is just another one of those epic ones that's going to take me weeks to do. And she was fantastic on camera. And it's another one that brings tears to your eyes as well. And not because it's sad, not because it's terrifying or frightening. It's really because it's exhilarating. It's an emotional tears, almost of joy, because we're so fortunate to be able to have the consciousness we have as a result of these experiences, where we marvel when we're going out in the backyard and we see a little bug crawling along, we take a close look at it. Or like today when we went for a walk down at the marina, which is just real close by to here, and just watching the sandpipers run back and forth while the waves went in and out, and the way they were harvesting the little sand crabs, watching the pelicans fly so close to you because you're up high on the rocks and they're hovering on the lip there, and just looking out at the ocean and the hills, and it's just amazing. I mean, we live in this amazing world. For us who have these experiences, it would seem that we get a real connection to it. Mary brought that up. She said, it just made me feel so connected being out there like that. And yeah, we don't feel separated. We feel part of it. I mean, feeling part of all that majesty and nature and the sky and the clouds and the ocean and everything going on. That's why it's emotional, because it's just incredibly joyful. So I think that's the kind of tears I'm referring to when it comes to some of these episodes. I am finding that most of our experiencers do not find this to be a negative thing in their life. Steve, have you heard of the guys doing a simulation? Yes, I've been watching that, and they're doing some good work. What really impressed me was the inside of the sport model. You saw how the chairs they grow out of the floor, and all the other parts seem to grow out of the floor. And I've heard this described many, many times. It's what I've seen too, is that the whole thing seems to be molded, which is suggestive of, but not necessarily true. But I get a feeling that their craft are grown. It's like they're alive. It's like growing crystals that's programmed to divide and grow into something that they've designed. Boy, Lynn, thank you. Bell doesn't ring quite as much as the other one, but okay. It works though. I love it though. It's so pretty. I mean, it's really cool. So goes to the top of it there. We're a bit Buddhist around here, but I think anyone who believes in spirit and the connection to all spirit is Buddha. So, where can I see the Lazar story? Just keep watching the updates that are coming on YouTube. They're showing bit by bit their progress with the show. I get the feeling that a lot of it's being done using their own money, which is very smart because they can keep control of it. They don't want to give it over to major mainstream media that'll turn it into the Manhattan alien abduction. We don't want them to do that now, do we? Or Fire in the Sky. There's others, but those two stick out in my mind. I think that they're working with Bob very closely, and they're sticking to a story in every detail in every way they can. So it ought to be really fascinating. I wish I was doing it. So, I mean, it would be a really cool thing to do. I'd have a lot of fun doing all the VFX, which is the CGI and stuff that they're doing. It looks really good. And they're not using Unreal. They're using probably Maya and stuff like that. It's a lot harder to work with. That's how I started. And I'm not sure why they're not using Unreal, because really Unreal is just incredible what it can do. I know a lot of the large studios are using it now. So I was training deep meditation for years at a temple. I improved my experiences and grew largely. Yeah, I can see that. And I would encourage everyone to do meditation. To just go quiet and listen, and you'll be amazing the things you'll hear. So when I first saw Fire in the Sky, I was about 11. I was great until I made it on the ship, and then I could not stay in the movie theater anymore. Now it doesn't bother me now that I understand more. Well, yeah, that whole sequence on the ship was completely made up and fabricated. None of that ever happened to him. That entire film at that point was a lie. And I tell people this all the time, and his book is still available. It's not called Fire in the Sky. Earl, what's his book called? It wasn't the Travis Walton Affair, was it? Somebody tell me, because I'm drawing a blank right now. But the book's great. It's got all these really cool illustrations in it that his friend Mike, I forget his last name, did. And they didn't look like that. The ship was clean, and it's what we know. It was this beautiful craft, very barren, tables and floors and chairs growing up out of it. It just clean. There were Nordic types on board, and there were Greys on board. And the interesting thing about the Greys is that I got a picture here somewhere. in my archives of what they actually looked like, because I did a mask of it back in the 70s. And we go to pictures, and we go to alien art, and somewhere in here, related. Dun, 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 dun. I know I'm going to find it, right? It just figures. What was that? Nope, that was sightings. There aren't many pictures. I mean, I had a lot of pictures, and of course, I think they were probably in with all the stuff that was flooded. So, unfortunately, I'm not finding it. But they didn't have the black eyes. They had large eyes, and they had whites, and they had sort of a brownish gold, extra large irises, and pupils. Probably how they look when they're not wearing the eye covers, the protective and information-oriented eye covers. I thought I had that. Well, anyway, back to comments. And he was actually able to go into, I guess, what you would call the bridge. There was a chair. There was this round room, sort of spherical, domed, and there was a chair in the middle of it that had, I think it had some kind of controls on it, kind of like a captain's chair. He was wandering around the ship by himself, and he found this room, and he went in there and sat in it. And when he sat in it, suddenly he was literally floating in space, as if that's how they guided the craft, was from that chair, and they could see 360 degrees all around them. It makes a lot of sense if you think about it. But where was that in the movie Fire in the Sky? It was just really wrong what they did. So, do you think that the one of the video automatic the greatest? No. No, that was, there was a guy in Canada, and I guess I'm not supposed to say his name, or maybe I can. I don't remember, so I won't. Well, evidently he came forward, but I knew someone else that I definitely not going to mention. I don't give away my sources because I don't know what's legal to say and what isn't. But you don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm a makeup effects artist. I did a lot of special makeup effects for the studios for years. Everything from Spock's ears to ghosts for Ghostbusters and just
Full
all.
bodies.
What's that, Mary?
Full bodies.
Yeah, full body, full, articulated, animated creatures. And so I know a lot of people, have a lot of friends that are in that same business. And one of them called me up one day. I won't even tell you his location because that could be a giveaway too, huh? And told me, he says, I heard you're saying that the autopsy is fake. And he says, it is. I want you to know that because I know the guy that did it. He took me in the back. He showed me the whole thing. And then later on, it came out. But as a makeup effects artist who has a lot of experience with it, when I first saw the film, I knew that I knew what I was looking at. I was looking at, well, it wasn't rubber. It was probably, I don't know if they used foam rubber or we didn't have much use of silicone back then, but so it could have been even gelatin, but it was definitely fake. It was not a real. I don't know if there's been other ones, but who is the guy that the doctor, the aliens killed his dog and he killed the alien and he put it in his freezer and then the thing disappeared. What was his name? I know you guys know who he is. Dr. somebody. There was a website that debunked UFO cases and cases like that. And if they couldn't be debunked, they admitted it, that they couldn't debunk it. It may be true. But in this case, God, I almost had his name. Almost had it. he had these pictures of this alien, and he said these are real pictures. You can tell because when I take the flash pictures, you can see the retina of the creature flashing back at me, like like a cat in the road or a deer in the road, and your headlights are on it. And the guy asked me to debunk it, and I said, yeah, because I know those things are that it's just fake as you can get. It was definitely latex of some kind, and so I took two spheres, two acrylic balls, and I sculpted something really quick around it, and I took a picture with the flash, and I got exactly the same effect. Jonathan Reed, thank you, Doctor. Boy, was he ever mad at me, but. I know rubber when I see it. So what was the question that was up there?
Oh,
Oh, I see it.
sure.
Oh, you did it.
Hold on.
Okay. May I ask you about one with the interview, the one from the Project Blue Book? Are you asking about an interview with an alien, or are you asking about a Roswell? Are you talking about the alien autopsy? Because that was definitely fake. The only thing I've ever seen that I thought might be real. Oh, God. Deborah Linderman of Michael Linderman contacted me back in the early 2000s about this guy who had videos of orbs in his house, and he also had a camera set up in his window because he kept seeing that right there popping up in his window and down again. And in fact, they did a whole show on him, and then they claimed that he had child porn on his computer. Yeah, right. But I, before anybody ever knew about this guy, was shown the videos by Deborah Linderman. And I analyzed them because, especially the orbs were real, as far as I could tell, but the one that was in the window looked like somebody had, like where my hand is now, on an alien head, like the one behind me, going like this. Until I pulled in close on it and enhanced it, and I could see the eyes widening and narrowing. And then I knew that he had to know somebody that could sculpt a head like that. Stan Rosnick. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I knew that that someone had to be able to sculpt that in clay, full size. I knew that they had to be able to make a two-piece mold on it, then make a core mold, which is where you put clay back inside of the mold. And so you have a displacement about that thick, and you pour more stone inside of it. You take those two halves apart, you take off all the clay, you clean it off and everything. Then you can put it all back together and inject foam in it and get this nice soft skin about that thick. Then you take the core, you make another mold off of that, you do it in silicone, and then you make a fiberglass underskull from that. Now the underskull fits underneath the foam rubber and keeps its shape. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Then the next thing you do is you cut up that fiberglass underskull, and you cut up the eyebrows and around the eyes and stuff, and you make areas that can float, and you can pull with cables, and you hook it up to the cables. You attach the underskull with glue, contact cement to the foam, and you have on the outside a puppeteer, and he can move these levers, and it'll make the eyes widen and narrow or make facial expressions. So that's how. There was no CG that could have done it back then, and I don't think he could have afforded it anyway. So it begs the question, how was that done? And everybody laughed at it and said, oh, God, it's so ridiculous. There's some kid outside with an alien mask on a stick. Well, even if it was just a mask, where did he get the mask from? I'd never seen it before. It wasn't one you could buy. Somebody had to have made that. So that may have been real. Alien Interview Part 1. It's supposedly classified. It wasn't sure it was DJI, maybe. I don't know if I've seen that one. It's not the one from Area 51 that was snuck out on the guy's wrist, was it? Because that one also, to be honest with you, I don't know if that was real or not. Whitley and I both were on a TV show about that. It was called The Alien Interview, I think it was, by Rocket Films. I think, yeah. And Whitley and I are both on that show and asked to comment on it and say whether we thought it was real or not. And we really didn't know, but they edited our footage to make it sound like we thought it was real, which I didn't take kindly to. But it was pretty close. There's something about it that just, both Whitley and I agree, there was something about it that concerned us, that it might possibly be real, but I could never really say for sure. What did you heard it was legit? Well, I'd have to look at it, because I hate to be a snob, but boy, do I know a rubber monster when I see one. You know, I've worked on so many films and TV shows and things doing exactly that. I can tell you right now, anything can be done. And now CG, you think you may be able to spot CG when you see it, but you can't anymore. When it's done right, you can't tell. You just can't. I could tell if I can get a hold of the original film and zoom in on it and analyze the pixels and things. But, you know, just seeing it on YouTube, you know, I don't know. I'd have to see it. I may have seen it, but I haven't seen anything that really moved me except Stan's video, because I knew what he had to have done back then. That was what, about 2003, 2002? Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know about that. I can be wrong, Rachel. You know, I can be wrong, but I haven't seen anything that really, you know, tells me that it's real. And if it was real, I would question why it wasn't taken down and whoever had the footage wasn't dealt with. What is it? What is it like? uh, Sorry. Immediately, I remembered this moment in my kitchen when I saw the one standing in front of the refrigerator. I was wide awake, and I thought I'd be scared, or maybe I thought, I don't know what I thought it was just this moment in time where I just wanted to take it all in, and the way it looked at me, and then it just moved so quick and was gone, and I chased after it into the other room because it went through the wall. There have been other times, and I don't know. It's not like being, it is kind of like being around a person that looks different than you, and their consciousness. And you can talk to them, and you can hear their thoughts, and they can hear your thoughts. Their touch, it's kind of neutral. I've heard some people describe them as being very cold. I don't remember them being cold. In fact, in some cases, I remember their hands being very hot, as if they had like an energy in them. That was a good question. It's not easy to describe. It is an incredible moment, though, when you're standing in front of one of these guys. So, and I've seen them without the black eyes as well. And in fact, if you ever watched a movie called The End of the World, I actually play a gray in it, and that was done back in 1977. It's got Christopher Lee in it. It's on the internet. You can see it. It's got a lot of old time famous actors and actresses in it, and yeah, because Christopher Lee didn't want to be in makeup, I ended up being the gray, and I did the sculpture, and it was a poster, and it's been seen everywhere. Even Spielberg used it, a shot of me in the mask in the portal for Encounters, the 4-part series. It's in the first episode. Is it like you hear a different voice other than yours in your head, or is it your voice? It is like a different voice, but it also at times feels like it's your voice. But I do remember with the grays, and particular that I hear with the tall one, I hear a feminine voice. It's very soothing, and maybe it's intended that way to make me feel comfortable. But sometimes, like the night I got the message, don't give up. I mean, there's still hope. Don't give up. That was right in the center of my head. And it did sound kind of like my voice, but it wasn't me. And I knew it. Paul, I never saw Paul. I saw the ads for it and stuff. Oh, yeah. Home verse. Yeah, that's true. Well, I see it's 4:47. And
So you got 3 minutes.
what's that?
You got 3 minutes.
I have 3 minutes. Do I? Oh, yes, I do. So, any other questions? You're talking about the movie Paul. Okay. Nova's sniffing under the door. There's a lot of things that I'm not going to talk about right now because it's in what you're about to see. But you get a little bit of an idea tonight of some of what I go through to get things on the screen the way we do. I hope you all watched Judy's trailer. Steve, when can we do another interview? Send us an email and Mary will look at the calendar. Yes, we will. Well, Judy's is going to be about 40 minutes. I think Susan's is going to be about an hour. We have another gentleman coming out here in January who's a pastor. Wonderful guy. Also someone I met through Earl. And his name's Dale. And he's had amazing experiences and a lot of insight into this whole thing. And we're going to do a long one with him. And we have other people that want to come forward and sit in front of the camera and just talk it out. If it goes an hour, it goes an hour. Goes an hour and a half, goes an hour and a half. That's how we're going to do things. We're not concerned about algorithms.
Live stream.
We're dropping all that. We're just focusing on doing really good, high quality shows that have really in-depth content in them. And what was that about live stream, Mary?
They want longer live streams.
Longer live streams.
Live streams.
Really? You want longer live streams? Well, Mary and I will talk about that. I know an hour is not a lot of time. So much of my time is spent at machines, putting together these shows. And then I need time to rest. But, like I said, Mary and I will talk about it. I think on the average, most shows I've seen are around an hour, but I know that Whitley goes 2 hours, and the second part is for paid subscribers, which is interesting. I don't think I'd do that. Maybe a holiday live stream. Okay, that sounds great. And we'll have drinks, and this is great here, I'll have my flask. If it's so ancient since it's been used, but I'll make exception for Christmas. It's actually got the chevron from Star Trek on it. Anyway, so 4:50. Thank you. Thank you guys for all the support tonight. That's just fantastic. It's so well appreciated. Excuse me for being sort of sloppy and dumbheaded tonight, but I have reached it. I'm pretty tired, and I'm looking forward to a nice sort of day off tomorrow. I gotta get some time to regroup, get some rest. So we love you
Just watch the movie.
a whole bunch, and we're going to see you again really, really soon. And thanks for being here tonight.